Hello!
Today, my friends, we are going to talk about light guns. Now, if you're not aware of what a light gun is, it's like a plastic gun that you point at your television and shoot the demons that live inside. Or maybe they're video game characters. I haven't done the research to find out. But the important thing is, light guns are great. If you think light guns are great, clap your hands now. You couldn't, could you? Because you've got a light gun on at least one of your hands. Yes, that's how good light guns are. Fantastic times in video games. Things like Time Crisis and Virtua Cop and Point Blank, one of my personal favourites. Actually, my personal favourite is Quick and Crash, but that is something that we are not covering today. That's a very different thing. Anyway, the point is, these used to be quite common devices and have been around for a long time. And I realised the other day I've got quite a collection of them that I've sort of bought by accident over the years because they turn up in second-hand shops and charity shops for like £2 and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, I'll buy that. And now I can't use any of them really because most of them only work on CRT televisions. But we'll get onto that immediately. So yes, CRT televisions. I'm sure you all know what we mean by CRT. Cathode ray tube. Basically, those big old televisions, just like Grandma used to make. Well, she probably didn't make them, but she probably did watch the Antiques Roadshow and MasterChef on them. So, they have been and gone now, unfortunately, which means a lot of the early light guns simply don't work because they rely on CRT scanning behaviour to fundamentally work. They are not going to work at all with a modern LED, OLED television, not plasma TV, not even an old rear projection. If it isn't a CRT, all these early guns will not work. Which is, of course, a minor tragedy. But there we are. That is the price of progress. Also, this is our new best friend, Hergluff. Hello, Hergluff. Hergluff is going to be in the background of this, just to make it so there's something to point light guns at, and it isn't quite so visually uninteresting. Thanks, Hergluff. We appreciate you. So, early light guns. There's some really early stuff with the old Ace-tronic and Binatone things that you would plug into your television and play crap versions of Pong. They would have skeet shooting games that I don't think quite worked properly, if I recall. Or maybe my cousin just hadn't set up properly. I don't know. But that was your sort of really early stuff. Then there were things like around 1983, you had the Stack Light Rifle for the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64 and VIC-20, a sort of really realistic looking thing. Was it accurate? I don't know. I've never seen one and probably never will because they're quite rare and expensive these days. But we are going to start with... I should warn you, actually, this video is not entirely chronological, and there's a reason for that. It's because I really want to start with this one, because for me, this is where I first saw light guns as a thing, at least outside the arcades. The Magnum Light Phaser. Pew, 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 pew. Sorry, but we're not going to do that for each gun. That would be a nightmare. So, what does it look like? Big bit of black plastic, that's what you want. Futuristic stylings, some sort of sci-fi piping on the side. Sinclair, because it was made by Sinclair, it was not made by Sinclair. I believe it was made by a company called Trojan and mostly sold by Amstrad, although Amstrad owned the Sinclair name at the time this came out. It's very confusing. But the main thing is, you can point it at your telly and things happen, and that's what it's all about. Now, I've got to say, these days, this does feel pretty bloody cheap. Yeah, it's very sort of hollowy. And, well, I think it's just made for somebody with much smaller hands, like, you know, a child, probably, because this is not a comfortable thing to use these days. Well, yeah, you'd be getting serious finger cramp after a while with this, I think. Trigger's not great either. That has the feel of a trigger. It is pushing a micro switch, but I think that'll get jammed quite easily. Do you know what I mean? But hey, this is the first thing I remember. My God, it was sold for all the old computers at the time. All the 8-bits back in 1989. There was a ZX Spectrum version, which this is, I think, actually, if you look at the end of it. The connector is a weird connector, which I think only goes in... I think that's a ZX Spectrum Plus 2. Or is it the Plus 2A? Because this was bundled with the ZX Spectrum Plus 2A in a Living Daylights pack or something, which had the tie-in for the big Bond film at the time. And like 2 of the levels you could play on a light gun or something. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the point is, there was a version of this for the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, but weirdly, also versions for the Amstrad, Amiga and Atari ST, although they were, I believe, sold under the name Trojan as opposed to Magnum, so make of that what you will. And this I can remember playing briefly at somebody's house with, and it was shit. Like, I cannot explain to you how bad this bastard was. We were trying to play Operation Wolf, the arcade game, which you'd think would be a fantastic game to play with a light gun. I mean, it kind of is apparently on the Amstrad and Commodore 64, but the Spectrum just didn't fundamentally bloody work. Like, when you shot at the screen, a big, like, black bar, was it black or white? I remember there's a big bar that went across the screen, and it was, the screen was flickering every time you pulled the trigger as well. That was a nightmare. And pretty much every time this black bar, or was it a white bar? I can't remember. Every time the bar appeared, it kind of killed everything that was behind the bar, like you had some sort of superpower screen clearing gun. Not very useful when the nurses are on the screen that you're not supposed to shoot. This was not good on the Spectrum at all. Other games worked better, but the Operation Wolf was almost unplayable. Absolutely dreadful. So, thinking back, this had about 15 games or so come out for it ultimately. Most of them not really particularly impressive, but there we are. If you had to play the best games on it, your Spectrum, as I said, Operation Wolf, not so great on that. Your best one of the Spectrum is probably Rookie, which is sort of an army training game type thing. Commodore 64 and Amstrad, totally go for Operation Wolf. And if you have one of the rare Trojan ones for the Amiga or ST, there's a nice conversion of Space Gun. That's probably your best bet, but I've never used one of the ST or Amiga ones, so I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, this came out in 1989, but wasn't the only light gun for those machines in 1989. Oh no, my friends, because later on in the year came the Cheetah Defender. Look at that. Now that looks more the part, doesn't it? You've got a weird movable iron sight thing. Proper clicky. Oh, small movement and very definite. Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
It's a quality action.
And just a sort of more impressive feeling and looking styling as well, with the multicoloured plastic and the very sleek look. I do have a complaint though, and this is my complaint. The slightly angled thing means when you hold it straight out in front of you, it actually points slightly up. It's only very slight and you can get round it, but I find that very annoying. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've used lots of light guns and find ones that point in the air annoying, but I bloody do. Anyway, yeah, made by Cheetah, who are making a lot of the joysticks and controllers of the time, and released for the Spectrum and Commodore 64. No Amstrad version of this one. This is the Defender 64. Well, it's the Commodore 64 version. I'm sure you worked that out. The connector, I believe, if I can actually find the other end of this. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes, just standard joystick port, the 9-pin of the time. But yeah, it's a nice thing, the Defender. And apparently, because I've never actually used one of these, because unfortunately I only got this fairly recently. I don't have a CRT to actually test them on anymore. Well, technically I've got a couple of CRTs, but they're tiny just for testing things on. You certainly couldn't play a game on it. Tragic. But yeah, this is apparently much better than the Magnum light phaser in pretty much every respect, and certainly on the Spectrum. The tragedy is only about 6 games released for it. Bronx Street Cop is probably the best. A game I weirdly had on the Spectrum despite not having a gun. I think I got it like, I think it was just a budget release and I like the look of it sort of thing, and you controlled the cursor just with your joystick or whatever. So not exactly the best way to play it, but it was alright. I imagine with a light gun, pretty good. And interestingly, some of the 6 games for this were rewritten to work with the Magnum, because obviously more people had the Magnum because it came bundled with computers and stuff. Anyway, that will do, I think, for talking about guns that came out for the Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, ZX Spectrum, Atari ST, and Commodore Amiga. Deep breaths. Except, we probably should mention actually, there was something called an MHT gun stick that came after. I'm only mentioning that because the word gun stick amuses me. And the MSX had one. There was a gun for the MSX called the... there was a gun stick for it. There's another one had a... Hang on, I'm going to have to check my note here. This is such a weird name, I couldn't remember. The Plus X Terminator Laser. The Plus X Terminator Laser. You can't argue with names like that, but you can say games instead of names. Try not to. And there were some other guns for the Amiga and ST, the West Phaser, and something called the Golem Light Gun, which I've never encountered, but sounds kind of amazing. Anyway, let's move on to the next one we've actually got to show you. Got to stop doing that. It is the Atari XE system gun, or, well, it's technically the Atari XG1 from 1987. So going back 2 years, this is 2 years before the other 2 guns I've shown you. This was basically Atari's light gun, as simple as that. This particular one came with the Atari XEGS, the good old Zegs, which was their kind of last hurrah for their 8-bit microcomputers. But it's also compatible with the 2600, you know, the old wooden boy, and the 7800, and all Atari 8-bit computers, basically. And sold for the Amiga, incredibly, as the Actionware Phaser. There we are, didn't know that till recently. The bad news is, not really very accurate at all. It's weirdly more accurate vertically than horizontally. The only game I've played in it was a sort of crap one where you shot bugs, and quite frankly, it just felt more like a proof of concept than a game. Not amazing. There was only one game for the 2600 which supports this, Sentinel. There's 5 for the 7800, and there's another 5 for the 8-bit computers. The best is probably Crossbow, which is a port of the XE arcade game, where, like, little characters walk across the screen, and you have to protect them from evil things by shooting them, because it's a gun. So the design of this one, quite like it's very sort of, I want to say late 70s, early 80s sci-fi B movie, and I appreciate that. It's also comfortable to hold. The Defender was pretty good as well, even, you know, with adult hands, so to speak. It is, yeah, it's pretty good. Got some interesting stylings and bits going on, little sight bit at the top. I like it quite a lot. That's the thing. Unfortunately, pretty shit, because there's not many games for it. So it's a bit of a shame on that front, but there we are. What's the connection on the end? It is standard 9-pin joystick thing. Zap! We're going back in time again to the granddaddy of them all, at least all the ones I'm showing in this video, the NES or NES or NES or however you want to say it. Zapper for the Nintendo Entertainment System, obviously. 1984, this one. And it's a pretty cool looking thing, isn't it? I've never liked the trigger on this. It's a bit too, I don't know, there's a lot of travel on it, and it's very, you have to push it a lot harder than most. Also, it's a noisy bastard. But hey, still pretty good. And I've always liked the sort of pared back design of it. Kind of looks like a dart gun, but a little bit futuristic. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Connector, if you care, is obviously standard NES control pad connector. Now, who remembers the old tagline for this? Zap your NES like a man in a fez. That's not actually a tagline, I just made that up. But yeah, this was certainly a cool thing which sold a lot of stuff. And by stuff, I mean units. It's not particularly accurate. I mean, from 1984, perhaps you wouldn't expect it that much, but it doesn't really matter as well, because the clever boys at Nintendo made sure all the games were based around large targets, so it still actually played really well. So yeah, fair enough. You can't argue with that. There's about 17 games, unless you're counting compilations like some sort of idiot, including an unlicensed version of Chiller, which I find astonishing that there was a home release of Chiller on a Nintendo system. But yeah, I've just realised, I thought this was released in 1984, but it clearly says on the side 1985 Nintendo Zapper. Maybe the Japanese one came out in 1984 and we were a bit behind or something. Not sure. I also don't know if there's a UK or US one. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter at all. But yeah, a classic thing, a good looking gun, and works well enough, you know what I mean? A lot of good games out for it. Freedom Force, Gumshoe, Hogan's Alley. But let's face it, it's all about the iconic Duck Hunt. Yes, with that bloody little dog popping up on the screen and laughing at you, the cheeky little bugger. But yeah, that is the one I think that everybody's mind goes to. And it's such a simple game and really well implemented. And it was, of course, the nemesis for friend of the channel, Paul Gannon.
Paul Gannon!
No, Paul Gannon, who as a child went on the Games Master TV show in the UK and played Duck Hunt, and very nearly passed the challenge but missed the final target.
Just got trigger happy.
Tragic scenes. Although I do love the way he's moved his Super Mario Brothers watch further up his arm so everybody could see it, because that watch is bloody cool. Incidentally, Paul's podcast with Eli, many of you will be aware of, Cheap Show, their 500th episode live show is coming up, and you can get tickets for it. It is happening in Cambridge, UK on the 23rd of August, this very month. I'm going to put the link up on the screen and it'll also be in the description. And frankly, if you want tickets for it, stop watching this video now and go and get them while you still can, because it's going to be a right laugh. I'm going to be there, but don't let that put you off. Anyway, 2 years after the mighty Zapper came something equally as mighty. It is the Sega Light Phaser. Not to be confused with the Magnum Light Phaser from earlier, which looks really similar. Really similar. Bear in mind this came out first. But look how bloody similar those are. I mean, there are noticeable differences when you put them both together, obviously, but yeah. So Oh god, this one's had heavy use. The trigger is a bit knackered, but again, quite a basic design on this one. Simple but effective. It's black, it's sleek, it's got lots of different square faces on it. It's got a thing on the end that doesn't do anything. What more do you want out of your gun? And yes, Master System 9-pin controller port, as one would expect. Yeah, and see, it's... Do you know, I never minded the design of this, but now I actually look at it next to the NES Zapper. Ooh, that's knocked something over. Yeah, it does look a bit Billy Basic, doesn't it? But never mind, because it's actually more accurate than the Zapper. I mean, it came out 2 years later, so you would kind of expect it to. Of course, I just realised it has the number 3050 on it. Wonder what that means. Perhaps that's how much it was. 3,050 space potatoes. But yeah, seriously, good gun. Really nice, accurate enough for your games. Had 13 unique games, I believe, and there's some really good stuff on there. Gangster Town's great, Rambo 3 is pretty cool. Rescue Mission. If you are playing this, do have a go at Rescue Mission. It's quite splendid. But yeah, that's your light phaser. That was your 8-bit Master System. What was it called in Japan? Sega Mark III, wasn't it, in Japan? Yeah. It's very confusing. The history of the Master System, when you start looking at the Japanese stuff, gets very confusing. But yeah, it's a good gun. It's a good gun. It's a basic gun. There's not much ergonomics on the grip, but it still feels decent in the hand. Yeah, I like it. Now, I should point out, we're going to completely skip the Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive, and the Nintendo 64. This is because I don't have any guns for them. But I did borrow some in the past. If you want to look up my old videos on Super Nintendo and Mega Drive, you can just have a look at those. And they do show a couple of the main light guns for those. And there were no light guns whatsoever for the Nintendo 64. None. Not even a little one. So that's why we're skipping that entirely, because there's literally nothing to skip. Now we jump forward to 1995 and boom, the Sega Saturn gun, the Virtua gun, as it was called. I believe it was called the Sega Stunner in America. I don't know why that is. Man, this one's dusty, but my God, what a good gun. Obviously modelled on the Virtua Cop guns from the arcades. Sega were quite early to market with this, certainly before PlayStation got into all that stuff a couple of years later, mainly because of the arcade presence and, you know, Virtua Cop being a big thing at the time. But yeah, did a bit of travel on the old trigger, but feels good.
That is a very nice action.
But also looks cool as heck. Some sort of vaguely sci-fi gun, but with a real chunky feel to it. Still feels excellent in the hand to this day. Is that supposed to be a chamber? Like a sort of revolver thing? I never quite understood how it's supposed to work. But the answer is, it doesn't matter, because it's pretend. Plugs straight into your Sega Saturn controller port. I think we guessed that one, but yeah, this was a superb gun. This really did feel like the sort of next level of light gun stuff when we saw this in the arcades. With the early 3D, you saw your Virtua Fighter and your Virtua Cop and your Virtua Potato Harvester and all the other classic games of the time. Ah, beautiful. Incidentally, I have a Japanese version of this, weirdly, which is black and has a very clear Sega Saturn sticker on it. But otherwise, I believe uses exactly the same mould. Yeah. But does it look better? I think I do like the cool black because of the yellow accents on it. Makes it look like it's a gun for shooting wasps. But, yeah. This one's still cool as well. Still a fantastic light gun, this one. So what games were out? They had 15 games for the Saturn to play your light gun shenanigans on, although about half of them are Japanese only, unfortunately. So, well, in these days of, I don't know, whatever piracy methods they're using on the Saturn and emulation and stuff, you can probably play them, but a bit of a problem back in the day. What are the best games for it? Well, I mean, really, Virtua Cop 1, Virtua Cop 2 and House of the Dead. There we are. What more could you ask for? The answer is, I mean, Point Blank would have been good, but that was a Namco one, so that was PlayStation only. Speaking of which, time to have a look at the PlayStation guns. Oh yeah. I think the PlayStation 1 has got to be one of the best formats for light gun games. Some absolute classics on it. Mostly played through the Guncon, which really does look quite similar to the Virtua gun. Made by Namco. There we are, got your PlayStation branding on it. Red buttons on the side. Pew, 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 pew. Really nice feeling trigger. This is so similar to use to the Sega Virtua Gun. It is crazy, and that's not a bad thing because the Virtua Gun is great. But yeah, this came out in 1997 over here, I think 1986 in Japan by the looks of it, and my goodness, it was a breath of fresh air. That's a lie, because actually it felt similar to the Saturn stuff in some respects. But my God, such games, such games. Now, with both this and the Virtua Gun, they're so much more accurate than the old 8-bit stuff, as one would expect. Years and years have passed, you got more powerful hardware, blah, 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 but yeah. Oh, so good, so good. There's about 23 games for the PlayStation that will use a light gun. Really, it's all about Point Blank and Time Crisis, though. They were just Point Blank. You've got Point Blank 1, 2, and 3 for the PlayStation. Fantastic games. Absolutely brilliantly designed target shooters. Some of the best stuff going. And how does it connect? PlayStation control port, but also, whoa, intercepts the composite output to the television. It's clever stuff, this. Clever stuff. But yeah, absolutely tip-top. I have no complaints about the Guncon at all. And my God, there were a lot of third-party guns made. Not just for the Saturn, but mostly for the PlayStation, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's have a look at one now. Oh, look. It's my old friend from back in the day, the Scorpion. They sold a lot of these over the world, and it's styled like a real little pistol, as you can probably tell. Mine came from HMV in the UK. They even stamped their name on it for some reason, which is weird. You've got various little things here. Look, normal, auto reload, auto fire and reload, all your cheatiness, Guncon mode or non-Guncon modes. There were non-Guncon games as well. It all gets confusing. Lots of little bits and bobs on it. But here's the thing. It's very small. Has proper Guncon. Look. Hang on. Intercepts the signal and all that. But my God, it was comfortable to use, this one. Also, a clever manual reload on the back. I always quite like that. It's a little bit too much travel in the trigger, maybe. But overall, bang. Yes, a very good gun. Still works perfectly to this day. I really wish I'd kept something, which is a broken light gun I had from years ago, which is a bit of a shame, because it would have been cool to show you this now, but I got rid of it because it was broken. But it was like a massive third-party PlayStation, this big old silver thing, and it was so... People hated using it because it was so big that even with adult hands, you were like... and it gave you like hand cramp in about 5 minutes. Oh, what an astonishing gun that was, but that broke and I got rid of it. And frankly, it was a bit crap anyway, but it did make me smile at the way you couldn't use it because it hurt you. Actually, it didn't make me smile at all. It made me wince. Just like to point out, by the way, look, recoil on or off. I mean, the recoil, I don't really remember being a thing in this. Maybe it was just a little bit of vibration or something. But look, pedal. Plug it into your pedal for Time Crisis. Of course, the game Time Crisis should really have a pedal, but you can use the buttons instead. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, PlayStation, absolutely a fantastic console for the old light guns. Also, there was another light gun available, a sort of different system, the Konami Justifier. Never had one of those. To be perfectly honest with you, the reason I never had one of those was it had games that I didn't think were very good. Things like Crypt Killer, Lethal Enforcers, Area 51 and that, which are all sort of a bit naff, especially as compared to things like Time Crisis and Point Blank. It's just not as good, friends. Not as good. Now, before we jump away from the PlayStation, we must mention also the Logic 3 Predator. Boom, 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 boom. Not very good trigger on this, bit soft, moves a bit far, but hey, it's still a cool looking thing. Again, very, very inspired by the Virtua Gun, I think. Although originally, the original version of this is called the Judge Dredd, and is apparently based on the gun that Sylvester Stallone uses as Judge Dredd in the 90s film. Which seems weird to me, because this looks nothing like the gun he has in that film. It's got... I don't get it at all. Perhaps it's very loosely inspired. I've got no idea. But yeah, it's all right. As they go, you got a start button and off button. Look, you've got your set your auto reloads and the speed, auto fire speed. Oh, I've run out of bullets, I've got to reload. Can't see that being that useful. But yeah, it's there, it's good. Something fascinating about it, though. The connector has both PlayStation and Saturn on it. Look at that. So you can use it on Saturn or PlayStation. Very clever indeed. Unfortunately, that means it doesn't have Guncon capability, or full capability, I don't think, because that needs the composite bit. But never mind. Never mind. We still love you, Predator. I must admit, I've never tested this one, and it's very rattly. I think that may be, but we in the trade call a dead predator. Press F to pay respects. Now, next up is the bloody Dreamcast. 1999. What a year. And what a weird gun. The Dreamcast gun. So, it's got a slot for your visual memory unit, because of course the screen goes through there. It's got a little D-pad on the back and stuff. It's it's a very odd looking one, this, isn't it? Sort of, I don't know, Star Trek-y pistol almost. Got that sort of aesthetic to it, yeah. Trigger's good though, very good.
It's a quality action.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's a nice gun, this. It's one of these things that looks like it's going to be a nightmare to point, hold, use. It's going to be uncomfortable. No, it's super comfortable and really good. Brilliantly designed thing. Odd-looking boy, but yeah, it absolutely does the stuff. And plugs straight into your Dreamcast controller port, obviously. So, interesting thing about this, was not released in the USA, which really surprised me. I was like, what? Then I realised, released in 1999, and to do with the Columbine massacre of the time, yeah, would have been a hard sell, I do get that. Now, the problem with the Dreamcast gun, unfortunately, is they ain't got that many games. There's only about 6. And that's your lot, which is a bloody shame. What's your best games on it? It's got to be House of the Dead 2, fantastic, and Confidential Mission, a game not many people seem to talk about, but very good, very interesting. I had a copy of Confidential Mission and, the guns back in the day. Could never get it to work. Every time I plugged it in, it said, your gun is the wrong region or something. I was like, what? I bought it in a shop in the UK. I bought the game in a shop in the UK. And everything else works. Really weird. Years later, I got another Dreamcast, a different copy, and it works fine. So God knows what that was all about, dearie me. Especially because I had a pirated CDR of the Japanese-only Virtua Cop 2, and that worked. Work that one out for... Oh. It's okay, everyone. He's okay. A bit worried there for a second. Yeah, God knows what that was about. But the main thing is... not that many games, but there's still some really good stuff on there. The Dreamcast version of House of the Dead 2 is quite beautiful, quite beautiful. Jumping ahead in time again a couple of years to 2001, the PlayStation 2 had some damn fine light gun action as well, with their main man, by which I mean gun, the Guncon 2. Yes, first there was Guncon, then there was Guncon 2. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? So, what's it like? And the answer is extremely good. Very comfortable on the hand. Smaller, you'll notice. They've gone for a more sort of compact attempt at it. Still some nice design on it. Makes it look a little bit futuristic and interesting. You can hold it with your other hand like that if you particularly... Oh, I find that a bit small, actually. Maybe not. Trigger's pretty good again. Yeah... you can't argue with that. Namco, it says. That's because Namco made it. Interestingly, right on the bottom of this one, for reload or whatever, bang, 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 bang. Ow, my hand hurts. What more do you want? Other buttons on it, but also for the first time, well, first time on a PlayStation, D-pad. Yay! Control the menus, select weapons, do whatever you fancy. Also, interestingly, the connectors, USB... and again, a composite connector, but yeah, USB, this one. Which is interesting, because the third-party ones, I don't think used USB, they used the controller port, so there you go. But yeah, an excellent gun, this one. Really, really just top quality, fantastically accurate. It feels great in the hand. What more do you bloody want? Well, if you did want something different, there were other options, third-party-wise. Here we are, with the controller bit we mentioned. It's a 4Gamers thing. I don't know what this one's called, but I'll tell you what, it's not bad. Feels all right. I said the trigger's a little bit too firm, maybe. Something going to do a lot, but yeah, not bad. You've also got auto-fire settings. You've got your D-pad on the back. You've got your reload button on the bottom, various buttons on the side. I also enjoy the blue flashing at the top. That's quite nice. Gives it sort of more of a, I don't know, it just makes it look more of a thing. A little bit more Blade Runner-y, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying this looks cheap and is made out of very good quality plastic, but all the same, this does look a little bit better, doesn't it? Not as good a gun overall, but still a very, very solid attempt. If you got this rather than the official Guncon 2, I don't think you would be particularly disappointed. It is a good one. Also, a slightly less good one, but still relatively decent, the Smart Shooter. Based on real gun, probably, or at least trying to look vaguely like it. This can be normal, Okay, can emulate a Guncon and a Guncon 2, so you could use this on your PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, whatever. Also, it came with a laser sight, which is missing. I don't know where that's gone. Mind you, I never used it, so I don't really care. 1 million buttons on it, and your reloading bit at the bottom. Again, connects via controller port. Would have to if it emulates Guncon and works on the PS1, I suppose. But yeah, again, black with a bit your red flashing bits on it. It looks fine, I suppose. I prefer these sort of interesting B-movie space guns, but still not bad. The D-pad's horrible. Look at this. Oh, God. No definite movement on it at all, and it all squidges in and... I spit on it. Pah! I do not like it. But the rest of it, yeah, I've got no argument with it whatsoever. Decent trigger, a little bit soft maybe, but yeah, there's not much travel, so it kind of works. Yeah, I think that's a very good thing. Well done, and it was super bloody cheap, if I remember. I bought it as a second gun for the PlayStation 1, if I recall, and cost very little money at the time, which you can't argue with. And then, 2 years later, you got Lightguns for the original Xbox. Would you believe it? Seriously, people don't seem to think these things exist, but look, original Xbox controller port thing. They all look really weird, which I kind of appreciate. And also, there was no official one. There was no Microsoft release of a light gun. They're all third party, which, and there's like, I think there's about 6 different ones or something. It's a heck of a thing. So this one, I've never been able to use these, unfortunately, not having the CRT to have a go on, but this one intrigues me because it's got these dials here, which I think may be for calibration, or is it for calibrating some sort of laser sight there? I think that's more likely, actually. But yeah, an intriguing design. Looks a bit like something out of, I don't know, Farscape or Lex or something, you know what I mean? It's got a huge bloody handle, though. Like, I wouldn't want that to be any bigger. That would, I think this might cause cramp over a period of time anyway, to be perfectly honest with you. Trigger's decent, but yeah, if you've got small hands, this would not be fun. Also, it has an on-off switch, which is intriguing. You've got your reload thing at the bottom, like the old PlayStation 2 stuff. You got buttons on the side, this and the other. You do have a D-pad. Again, it's digital, not analog, but looks analog and feels quite nasty. Not as bad as that one in the sharpshooter, but still not great. But yeah, I quite like it. Quite like it. I get the feeling this would not be comfortable for long shootery sessions, but there you go. And I'll tell you what, you probably wouldn't have that many long shootery sessions because there's very few games for the original Xbox that you can play with your light gun. Basically, you've got House of the Dead 3 and a Silent Scope compilation. And that's your lot. I mean, House of the Dead 3 technically has House of the Dead 2 unlockable in it, so you've got that as well, I suppose. And the Silent Scope compilation is a few games, they're all, you know, Silent Scope. There's the only other thing is the 2-player mode of Starsky and Hutch, which is okay then. Yeah. Fair enough. But apparently you can hack Virtua Cop 3 to work on it. I don't know how that works, but or indeed if it does work, but that's something I read. But yeah, it's an interesting design and something you don't see very often. And I'll tell you what, I got another one, the Mad Catz Blaster, which again, weird looking thing. This one looks more toyetic. Not just the colour of it, but I think... yeah, I would have said it's more to do with this sort of chunkiness of it. What's intriguing about this one? You stand up, which I think I'm paying you for. Space for the memory card, so that's interesting. And there's some sort of squeezy grip. I don't know what that does. Interesting. You got your bit in the bottom. Shooty, all your buttons, your horrible D-pad thing on the back, which is weirdly is almost identical to that one. Yeah, I mean it does the job. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. They were all pretty accurate and competent by this latter-day CRT period. But yeah, interesting designs on the old Xbox ones. That's kind of cool, and this is kind of not cool, weirdly, but I still sort of appreciate it. Anyway, that is your lot for the CRT era, I'm afraid. We will have another video coming up next on Light Guns. We'll be covering the modern TV era, because of course... after this, nobody was using CRTs anymore, and we were all off to our, flat-screen televisions because we were living in space. No, wait, that bit didn't happen, but the flat-screen televisions certainly did, which means the fundamental way light guns worked had to change. And I gotta say, don't think they ever quite managed to nail it. Well, they're very close now. Maybe they have kind of nailed it now. You'll have to watch the next video to find out. Until then... Blah.
Subscribe for more.